I think it's a very concerning thing as an American to see the audacity that Iran has had. As you know, well, we've had to take down some ships near the Red Sea that are smuggling illicit materials into Yemen to give to the Houthis, who are then like launching rockets at merchant ships going through the Red Sea. Obviously, the Houthis, all of their weaponry and rockets is coming directly from Iran. You have Hezbollah to the north in Lebanon, into nefarious things as well. And it just amazes me that a country could be so blatant about sponsoring these groups to the point where they're actually the ones directing it. I mean, for the viewers, think of it as like a mob boss. Nothing happens until the boss man, signs off on the violence, right? Now, otherwise, it doesn't happen, and he's the one giving them all the guns and all these things. So it's amazing to me to see that, and I know it's so complicated, but so curious your take on that. But in addition to that, how important do you think it is as the leader of our country, kind of swinging a big stick, or at least giving the perception we swing a big stick? How important is that? Because, with President Trump, we whacked, was it Soleimani when he went into Iraq? So Soleimani was landing in Iraq to go meet with Iraqi proxies that were attacking Americans. We knew he was going, so we whacked him with a Hellfire missile, literally right up his ass when he got off the plane. That sends a message, right? That sends a message on the international stage. Hey, we are watching you. We know your movements. And if you try to, through a proxy, fight the United States, there will be consequences. Now we have a situation, I would argue, where we've lost a lot of teeth in the eyes of the international community, because we don't carry that big stick anymore. At least some might argue that. So, second part of the question is, do you think that actually matters? That how kind of the leader of our country, how they speak, and of course how they act, how they respond, because I would argue that you actually create stability through strength and at least showcasing it. And sometimes it's game theory. Sometimes you have to bluff. You act like you're going to swing a heavy bat, and maybe you actually don't intend to. But these other countries that are observing this are going to go, oh, damn, they just whacked that guy with a Hellfire. Like, all right, maybe we need to tone it down a little bit. And maybe we need to watch over our shoulder and be a little more careful in our movements. So, again, I'm fascinated, since you're an intel guy. You guys look at this a lot differently. And I'm just a civilian now, so these are just my own observations. But try to unpack that a little bit. I know that's a little bit loaded of a question, or a couple questions.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said it before, and I should start with first saying I'm not an expert on any of these things. I pay close attention to it. I still have friends that are in that I talk to all the time, and I also realize that people might hear what I have to say and think that I'm an extremist. So I should say, I look at it more pragmatically than I do look at it as an extremist. And I'll harken back to the rattlesnake. If a rattlesnake isn't going to kill you instantly if you walk near it, then you're not as worried about the rattlesnake. Whereas if the rattlesnake's unpredictable, or it could strike at any time, or is there in the grass, and it knows where you are, but you have no idea where it is, then you are much more reticent to walk in an area where you think there might be rattlesnakes. And that disposition, I think the founders of this country had right from the beginning. And I realized that it is going to look really rough when we do it. First off, I would never run for public office. I worked on and assisted in doing like presidential detail security at one point in my career. And I would never do that job of a president or vice president. Not that anyone would want me to. I'm just saying I'm glad I won't ever be that decision maker. So to answer your first question, CV pacem parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. We would be the most prepared military in the world, which I get into this all day, and I don't mean to, but we have less destroyers and submarines now than we've ever had. We have the ability to force project at a much smaller scale, and we're also transmitting to people that we're not willing to do it as often when these things happen. That to me is a very dangerous thing. You can think about this in any other respect in life. If you're just allowing some guy to grab your behind and you don't really do anything about it, he's just going to get more and more aggressive, and he's going to do it more often. He's going to think it's okay. But if you don't tolerate it and you set that standard from the beginning, then it will stop happening, or the person will get arrested. We really need to force project in the same way, I believe. And again, I'm not the expert here, but if we don't, then we are courting chaos in a way, and we're going to get it one way or the other. It's going to happen.